What if I told you a 100-year-old prophecy is now coming true and nobody is seeing it? Everybody remembers it, but they're not putting it into a modern context. In today's video, we are going to reveal this, and when you see it, you're going to wonder how you missed it this entire time. Especially those of you in my age group. Full disclosure, I'm in my early 50s. We have to go all the way back to my great-grandparents' era when my grandparents were little, and something that was foretold, something that was warned against. Now, I'm sure this is going to bother a lot of people. This is from the Great Depression. And no, this is not photoshopped. Here are a lot of women holding signs, protesting, married women in the workforce. You see, at that time, it was seen by a lot of men as a slap in the face. It meant you as a man could not provide for your family. Ergo, you had to demean yourself to having your wife work and bring in an income as well. Now, in the modern era, that seems very silly, doesn't it? But at the time, it was very real. But there was another group of people, single women at the time for whatever reason, that wanted to go into the workforce, and they thought it was unfair that they had to compete with women who already had an income provided for them by men. A lot of people forget this. You see, at this time, 100 years ago, Christians in America were very socially active. They wanted all the bars closed down, all the public sales of liquor gone. They wanted the dirty bookstores gone. They wanted a standard for dress in public. They wanted all sorts of social engineering things done to cure what was happening to their country. This is the 1920s. Now remember the roaring 90s and the 1900s when all of a sudden capitalism came in? They saw a lot of things entering the country that they didn't like, and so they got very socially active. Now, what does this have to do with anything going on right now? Well, I'm sure this is going to be a bit of a left turn for some folks, but this woman might be the smartest woman on the planet. This is Paige Spiranak. She was a golfer for a very short time, professional golfer, gymnastics, tennis, about 30 years old, and she created her own website giving out golfing tips, and she makes a ton of money, way more than she ever earned as a professional golfer. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is because a lot of modern women would have the same attitude towards her as a lot of modern women did 100 years ago. You see, here's the thing, here's the crux. 100 years ago, to these people, it was just as immoral for you to go as a married woman and enter the workforce when those jobs could be going to single women who really needed them, as it is now for this woman to create a website where she's in varying states of wardrobe. Let's just leave it there. And she makes a ton of money doing this. Now, yesterday, I used this as a quick passing screenshot thumbnail, and I got a lot of pushback for this. This is Lisa Haven, Justice Knight, Restricted Republic. This is them in Vegas. Some people had some issue with her wardrobe choice here. Well, isn't this what women have been asking for a long time? The ability to go out into the workforce and earn money on their own terms, regardless of any influence one way or the other from a man. I mean, nobody's forcing Lisa Haven to dress like she dresses. I think she had a wonderful time in Vegas. And just like Paige Spiranak, nobody's forcing her to do anything. She's not taking anything away from anybody. But a lot of people would judge her. Now, real quick, before we go any farther, I want to say thank you, be diligent to everyone who continues to show up over Patreon. As you know, $1 per month, even less if you sign up for an entire year, fully refundable, lowest allowable level. Very few channels can say that. Over there, we talk about psychological operations. We talk about things like this in a context where I want people thinking about it, not feeling about it. We talk about the 24 cognitive biases, 24 logical fallacies that make you believe that you're thinking when you're really feeling. Now, there's an article on Fox News. Paige Spearneck says, I was just broke in revelation on choice to end professional golf career. Spearneck spent 1 year playing professional golf. Now, basically, you go through this whole article, and there was something in it that stuck out to me. When she decided to leave, she got to the point where she was getting told that she's just not good enough. She was working as hard as she possibly could to be the best golfer she could, pardon me. And she was saying, you're just not a really good golfer. You're never going to make it. Even though she was working out and dieting and practicing and doing everything she could. People were denigrating her, basically. Saying you're only going to be average now. She's like, well, okay, if I'm going to go out in the work world, I'm going to make money. And I'm going to be on my own and be my own independent person. A lot of people said, why don't you sign up at this particular website? We talked about OnlyFans before. Victoria Treese here in Florida, because she wanted to stay home with her kids, decided to bite the bullet and put up pictures on OnlyFans and make money doing that so that she could be a stay-at-home mom. And a lot of people pushed back. Well, she took it, Paige Spearneck, to the next level. She created her own website called Only Paige. It's basically the same thing. Now, she's a pretty girl, don't get me wrong, but she's not, to me anyway, not $100 a year good looking. She's a pretty girl, but not $100 a year worth. Now, she knows there's a niche of guys out there, upper middle income, $150,000, $200,000 a year guys, that are into golf and golfing things and tennis things and would have no problem throwing her $100 a year to get access to her pictures and videos and that type of thing. Now, once again, 100 years ago, these people were saying this is going to be the end of this. That if we continue to allow women to work, women to go out into the workplace and participate in capitalism, that it's going to only end up one place, and it's going to be follow the money. And what they were going after was the liquor and the booze and the nightlife and the partying and all this kind of stuff. And it was seen as very socialist, very anti-capitalist, very anti-business. And now today, that's seen as anti-American. But now, here we are in 2023, where most of the folks who call themselves Christian or right-wing or would have same social beliefs as these people are very pro-capitalism. They're very for big business. And when you show them what the end of big business is and where money goes and why it goes there, then all of a sudden they say, why? That shouldn't be that way. Let me give you a better example. Here. And here's the article for this. History.indiana.edu about Chair's message talks about this, how there was a time when single women thought it was inappropriate for married women to have jobs. It was even seen by men as all women having jobs to be a bit of a slap in the face. Now, let's make a bit of a turn. Let's talk about not the Paige Spearnecks of the world. Let's talk about Uber and Lyft drivers. Now, one thing when it comes to women that I think a lot of ladies in my audience, and guys, you're just going to have to accept this, women who drive for Uber would prefer to have nothing but women riders, and women who order Uber and Lyft would prefer to have nothing but women drivers because of the safety factor. Now, they're not saying that every single guy who drives for Uber is this horrible, smarmy, terrible guy that's going to make them uncomfortable, but they don't want to take the risk. Given their choice, they would prefer each other. Women would prefer each other in the sense of being picked up, dropped out, or whether you're the driver. To pick up nothing but women all day, great day. Would be a great day for a female Uber driver and vice versa. To have nothing but female Uber or Lyft drivers pick you up, that would be perfect. Now, what if I told you it's already baked in to the Uber and Lyft system? They actively try to pair female drivers with female riders to the very best of their ability. It doesn't always work, but it's already baked in. But even at the next level, there are a lot of women that get into this. And once, a woman gets a female driver, a driver gets a female rider, They talk amongst themselves. They exchange phone numbers and say, hey, can I just call you directly? And I'll just pay you cash. Because, Uber and Lyft take a huge slice of whatever the fee is. And they do. And it only takes maybe 10, maybe 15 regulars for a female Uber or Lyft driver to not even have to use the app anymore. Once she's got the names and the phone numbers and the addresses of where these people are and what they need and what schedule they need it on, it's not hard to make $35,000, $40,000, $45,000 cash money a year doing this. Now, it's a huge violation of the Uber and Lyft policies, but Uber and Lyft turns their head at it and they don't care. Now imagine this in reverse. Imagine if it was a guy driver saying, I only want guys. I only want guys in my car. I don't want a woman in my car. I don't know if I'm going to catch him at that moody time, that they have every so often. And I just want all guys. If a guy even expressed that opinion, he would be kicked off. He would be kicked off Uber and Lyft immediately for expressing that kind of a desire to want that, to be the paradigm. So it's a very, very hypocritical thing, but it goes on all the time. Here's another article from the rideshareguy.com, 7 reasons why Uber and Lyft drivers are quitting rideshare. And I did this for years and years and years. Back in the 60s, who remembers Tupperware parties? Women to women side hustles for cash. Plastic containers. And this might be the best one of all. People would look at this picture and go, oh, wow, look at what she's wearing over here. And this was the 60s. This wasn't for money. You see here, this particular woman who wants equal pay for women and equal rights in the workplace. This is in Trafalgar in London. And she's wearing this short little thing. She wants to be seen. And she wants to be heard. And at this time, this was a good tactic to be seen and heard. But now, what's really going on? Why are we seeing the Paige Spirinaks of the world? Why are we seeing OnlyFans become this huge site where billions of dollars are transacted? And women leaving the tax-paying workforce and going into the side hustle workforce. Paige Spirinak's mom used to be a bikini model. Now think about this for just a minute. This Paige Spirinak's 30 years old, so I'm assuming her mom is, generally speaking, in her 50s. She's helped her out with this and encouraged her to do this because she understands capitalism completely. This girl, Paige Spirinak's a millionaire, multi-millionaire at 30 years old. Makes tons and tons of money. You see, I've shown pictures like this here, and it's, a lot of the guys like it, but I initially showed these pictures to prove a point. You see, here's 3 girls at the beach just posing for a picture. It's not for money. It's not to make any kind of a social statement. It's just something that showed up on Google from Panama City Beach from years ago. So why would hundreds of thousands, if not millions of men pony up $100 a year when all they would have to do is really go to the beach? Truly, especially here in Florida. Why? You see, she didn't have this epiphany until she went to Dubai. And you can read this in the article that to see a woman in this state of wardrobe choice is not something that's common in large swaths of the world. See, to you, normal guys, you want to go to the beach? Go to the beach. Go to the beach. Girls, walk around, whatever. Have a good day. Enjoy yourself. Go jump in the waves. Get a tan. Whatever. Drink some beer. That's something Americans take for granted. Well, that's not allowed in large parts of the world where most of the world lives, and the internet is everywhere. So a Paige Spiranak has an opportunity, even if it was $1 or $2 or $5 a head, to make tens of millions of dollars because of capitalism. These people were right. These people were right. There were all sorts of things that went on during the Great Depression in Hollywood. It was called pre-code Hollywood. Look up pre-code Hollywood and see what was actually put on the screen, even by modern standards at that time. It would be seen as, NC-17 TVMA, definitely R-rated for sure. But this was warned of. This was warned of. You see, we have this idea that economies are going to crash and New World Order. And the world has reordered itself many times financially. The idea of women in the workplace, the idea of even having a job is not something my great-grandparents would have even understood because we were such an agrarian society. You go back to the mid-1800s, nobody, quote-unquote, had a job. Most folks raised their own food. They worked on farms. Working a farm is not having a job. Working for somebody, getting a paycheck every week, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, whatever, 8 to 6. That's a very new thing. That's a very 20th century thing. Some people could say that's the New World Order. People having jobs. People going and showing up at X time and working for X amount of hours and getting paid so much to do it. That's not something that existed prior really to the New World. Who remembers Little House on the Prairie? With Pa, he was a farmer like everybody else and plowed fields and crops, but he also worked at the sawmill, did he not? You see, initially when you see a picture like this, you want to react emotionally, whether you're a woman rolling your eyes or annoyed at this particular thing or at the stupid men that pay $100 a year for it, or whether you're a guy and you really enjoy these things. One way or the other, it's emotion. But when you think about it, it's genius. It's genius, and it is what was warned of. Because truly, what is the difference between this and this and this and this? What's the difference? See, this is just girls going out and going to the beach, having a good time. No money involved. Here, there's a goal. It's not money, but it's to be seen. Here, make money in your own home, women to women. Same thing with Uber and Lyft. Running the side hustle, making money, excluding men, being a little bit sexist in the process. Look at what they were saying back then and look at what's happened now. Seriously. So, I guess when, especially here on YouTube where it's so hard to get viewership these days, no matter what you're talking about, this is a drop in the bucket. This is nothing compared to what really goes on in the real world. And it's a shift. You might think it's an unfortunate shift, but it's the end of capitalism. Meaning it's not capitalism isn't ending. What I'm saying, it's the ultimate goal, the ultimate final destination of capitalism is whatever loosens the purse strings, whatever causes people to tune in and stay tuned in or watch ads or whatever the reason is. That's the end goal of capitalism, not morality. Morality is directly antithetical to capitalism. And this is what they were saying back then, is that you can't have money, mammon, be the goal, because mammon is mammon. And no man can have two masters. No man can have two masters. And they knew this back then. They knew say what you want about these people 100 years ago. They knew their Bible. I'm going to leave this up because I think a lot of people would, especially women, would be stunned to see 100 years ago women saying that other women should get back in the kitchen, so to speak. Because that's exactly what they're saying. Fire married women. Make them go back home. Their husbands are providing for them. There are women out there that don't have a husband to provide for them, and they need those jobs. That's the moral and right thing to do. Can you imagine that today? Can you imagine that today? I'll leave it there. God bless. Have a great weekend. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.